Brett Dolan is here with us. It is not his birthday. We will celebrate him, though, for the next few minutes. Brett, you had an interesting call this past weekend with Georgia 43, Ole Miss 35. It's only the third time you've seen Ole Miss this year, and the first loss you've seen them suffer, too.
And I didn't think I was going to see that, but you're right. It was a wild game. I was trying to think, and our group was, the last time that we were in the fourth quarter of any game that we've ever covered or broadcast, and the teams were batting 1,000 or 100% on scoring drives. It was either touchdowns or field goals. There was no turnovers. There were no punts. It was into the fourth quarter before finally Ole Miss had a 3-and-out and a punt. And I think it was 11 for 11. I think the Rebs were 5 for 5 with touchdowns. Georgia was 6 for 6 with a couple of field goals. I don't ever remember that happening before to me. And then just when we thought, or at least I thought, the Rebels were going to win, I think Chambliss went 1 for 10 with 1 yard in the fourth quarter, and Gunnar Stockton went 12 of 12, and that alone tilted the game to the Dogs.
Did they change what they were doing on? What'd you notice? Why? How did they stop bringing pressure, or what was the change you think besides that in the fourth quarter?
Well, it was tough to get pressure. It's a good question, Matt. It was tough to get pressure just only because Chambliss gets rid of the football so quickly, and I think Lane designed some pretty good plays for him to get rid of it. I think Georgia has been a second-half defense, although that was tested. I think, for one thing, they just did a little better job on the back end covering some of the receivers. And then Chambliss had some misses, too. A couple of times he had his tight end going across the middle and threw balls at his feet. I don't know if maybe they cut off the routes wrong or whether he just missed. But then you get into that swarm that is 93,000 fans in Athens, and the game might have sped up just a little bit for him there. And Stockton is fun. I mean, I don't know how to evaluate him compared to others because he runs a lot. He's tough. He's physical. But he's a winner.
Okay, but they beat Auburn, and Georgia did that with only 79 yards rushing, 296 yards of total offense. I mean, you saw Auburn up close there. This is a team that is just as imbalanced as Arkansas, just in a different way.
They are. And Auburn is a little bit unusual because I feel like there's some young talent there. I don't know if Hugh Freeze was kind of building in addition to the portal, but trying to bring in top-tier recruits. That's what Georgia does, and that's what Alabama does, and those are, again, his biggest rivals. There's a lot of sophomores that'll be playing probably on Saturday against Arkansas that are good, and they rotate 12 defensive linemen at a time. That's the anti-Arkansas, the opposite of Arkansas. And at times they bring in 4 defensive ends on passing downs. So it's not defensive tackle. It's just all pass rushers. And it's young. It's pretty good. But their problems, at least for Auburn, obviously have been on the offensive side.
All right, Brett. Mississippi State's 0-3. Kentucky's 0-4. So I don't know about those two games, but you got 0-4, 0-3, Arkansas, Auburn. Let's say Auburn goes 0-8. Hugh Freeze is out 100%, you think?
Yeah, I think that would be too ugly to kind of overcome. I know their athletic director has done it as best he can to kind of support him in essence because they've had so many close losses, and it's almost movie-like to try and go week to week and determine different things that decide outcomes, whether it's calls maybe sometimes or lack of offense. I did see the officiating crew I had at the Auburn-Georgia game, I believe, was suspended for the rest of the year after
Were they
the
that
game.
bad in that game, Brett? And was it just about that game?
I'd love to know, Phil. I mean, I think we had 9 or 10 different reviews. Twice they were reviewing 8-yard pass plays on drives. But I got to believe if indeed this is completely true, and it was because of that, then that's their way of saying it should have been a touchdown when it would have Auburn purged the ball maybe just barely across when it should have been 17-0 instead of 10-3 at the half. So I don't know, but that seems to be pretty harsh, and I don't know if we'll ever find out the kind of the gossip, so to speak. But I got to believe there were some issues in that game, and maybe others too. We'll find out. Maybe, I don't know.
All right, I like giving you these Sophie Choice questions, Brett. So you got Ole Miss and Oklahoma, both 6-1 teams. They're going to take off against each other. Missouri and Vanderbilt, both 6-1 teams, play this Saturday. Out of those 4 teams, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Vanderbilt, because we know 2 of them are going to add another loss to their schedule. It's another L. Out of those 4 teams, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Missouri, Vanderbilt, which ones do you see in the playoff 12?
probably still take Ole Miss, but this is a big weekend for Mizzou for a couple of reasons. I think it is a pretty good team, and it's maybe not a team that gets as much love as the Georgias and Alabamas and even Ole Misses, but this is not a layup by any stretch of the imagination against Vanderbilt, and we'll find out how good the Commodores are. I would probably stay with the Rebels until proven wrong on that, but Mizzou's going to be in the mix somehow. But obviously a loss this weekend would really kind of alter their path forward.
So no football this weekend for you, but are you on the basketball game tomorrow on SEC Plus, Arkansas versus Cincinnati?
We are televising it. Joe Klein and myself will have it at 7 o'clock. And, this is kind of a new trend, I think, with some of the power schools with some basketball exhibition telecasts. And I got to believe there's a little national interest in seeing Arkansas on a non-football Friday, so to speak, even though we're going up against the World Series. But it's interesting because the Cincinnati team, it's not just a random opponent they're playing. I think it was a 198 game they had against Michigan where they scored more than 50 points in the first half against the Wolverines, gave up more than 60 in the second half. So I'm curious to see Cincy and how they go up against Arkansas. And I think it'll be a great test between what they have this week and then again against Memphis in a few days before they go into the regular season against teams that probably aren't as good as Cincinnati and Memphis. So we'll have the call Friday night and kind of looking forward to kicking off a basketball season, although to be doing a basketball game in October still feels weird.
All right, Brett, World Series, is it as simple as give me one reason why L.A. wins the World Series, give me one reason why Toronto wins the World Series, and is it as simple as for Toronto to win, they got to get the starting pitching of the Dodgers out of the game early?
I think that'd be a good first step. I think the only way Toronto, the reason I would say the Dodgers would win is because they have by far the best talent, and I think they will, and I think it'll be a shorter series than we would like. Toronto, obviously, with their home field advantage, they need to kind of take advantage of that, I would think, and they need to find a way to kind of keep the Dodgers during this long delay from looking sharp in the first couple of games. But the Dodgers came into this year, and I think when we talked about it in April, I said they have by far the best talent, and everything done this year in baseball will be under the context, well, they're really good or they're not winning, whatever the case may be, everything orbits around them. And they did not play well for a bulk of this year with all kinds of injuries, and it was Blake Snell that was injured. Their bullpen was bad, and Max Muncy was injured, and Mookie Betts was off. They figured it out about 3 weeks ago, and I kind of thought they'd face Seattle because Seattle figured it out as well, but the Dodgers just simply had better talent and top to bottom. So I'd love to see Toronto make it a series, guys, but I'm afraid LA is going to have too much.
Brett, you were around baseball, professional baseball, a long, long time. You continue to be, too. So you know, just from being around it now, that college baseball has never been closer to Major League Baseball in terms of you just get guys that get up there a lot quicker now. There is no bigger example of this as to who the Toronto is going to be starting in the opening game of the World Series. It's Trey Savage, who was East Carolina's ace in 2024 and then a first-round pick. He only pitched, 6 games in the regular season for Toronto this year? He didn't get up to the big leagues until September, and he's their first-game starter in the World Series. This doesn't feel like real life. And then, oh, by the way, yes, Tony Vitello is making this unprecedented jump. Why is college baseball and Major League Baseball, why is the distance so close now?
I think probably going back 10 years, and you kind of lived through this as well. The television aspect of having every game has made it easier for kids to watch it. I think it's made it easier for people to aspire. The SEC environments have been fantastic. Omaha is an incredible visual, whether you're there or watching it on TV. But you're right. We didn't see this not just 10 years ago, maybe even 7 or 8 years ago, where a guy can make an impact that quickly. To see a head coach become a manager in the big leagues and have to take a pay cut to do it, potentially, I don't even know if that's right. But for someone who's never even coached or managed in the professional ranks to make that jump, it's fascinating, Phil, and I don't think it's the end. I do think these are rare cases like Savage and Tony Vitello, but it's not that rare where we won't see it potentially again. So I think we're pretty lucky when we get to cover these SEC baseball series. We're seeing great talent, we're seeing great coaches and managers, and I think the rest of the world's starting to pay attention.
Yeah, my whole idea here is that Who has to do the adjusting? It's not the players. It's not the organization with the Giants that have to do the adjusting. It's Tony that has to do the adjusting here, and he's smart enough to do it. All the things that we've thrown out there. He can't manage with his hair on fire, can't argue balls and strikes all the time, and it's a different game too. Look, these are different sports, different equipment. The rules are different. So while the talent level gets up to the big leagues quicker than ever before, the two sports really have never been more different than they are now.
Well, especially when you do the shifting and some of the other aspects that we still do in college and whatnot. But I'm with you. I mean, I think for Tony to make that adjustment, he's going from 50-some games to 190 counting spring training. He's going from the fact that he can go out and recruit. If he wants to recruit the top 10 players in the country and get them all, he can. Obviously, you can't do that at the big league level. If you play well enough in college baseball, you get to play at home all the way to Omaha. You don't get to do that at the big league level. And by the way, you're in the same division with the Dodgers. To me, the most fascinating aspect, and I don't think Tony can't do this, Phil, but I think to my first big league team, and I walked in the locker room, and there's Craig Biggio, and there's Jeff Bagwell, and there's Andy Pettit. Roger Clemens is coming along soon. I think if Tony had that fire in that locker room, that would not have worked out. And his fire, his passion is what makes him special. But there might be some big leaguers looking at him and say, bro, chill. I mean, this is April. This is May, and you're not going to get your practice time. You're not going to recruit players, and you're going to have to deal with big league guys. So I don't know. I think it's a fascinating case study. Pat Murphy's doing a little bit of that with Milwaukee, but Tony's going to be the focus next year of a lot of people in baseball for a number of different reasons, and I'll be curious to see. I won't put it past him, but my goodness, you're right. He is going to have to do the adjusting.
You don't always win your first bet. That's why MyBookie has you covered. Use our code HOGS, H-O-G-S, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If your pick doesn't hit, you get it right back with our Bet Back bonus. Go to mybookie.ag and use the code HOGS to claim your Bet Back bonus. MyBookie's where bettors win together because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. And your first bet is fully covered. Use our code HOGS.
Must opt in during the bet to use the Bet Back bonus.